Hey, Lee Wolf here. We are live on Game Face Monday. Hope everyone had a great weekend. And as always, thank you for tuning in and watching and listening. Today, we have a special guest, and his name is Larry Bruce. He is a data advocate. He is an automotive innovator, and he's also the chief problem solver for BDC Box LLC. How you doing, Larry?
Good, guys. How you guys doing?
Good.
Good. And as always, Mr. Richie Bello sitting by my side, ready to rock. Before we get rolling on the show, just going to run a quick video from our sponsor, and that is Shop Smart Autos. Hold on. Getting new customers is exciting and necessary, but while attracting new customers is important, retaining your customers creates an unending stream of revenue that keeps your dealership moving forward. Whether you're a marketing team for car dealerships or a dealership yourself, Shop Smart Autos has your retention tool, the VIN Retention Report. Anyone can find out how many cars they sold in a given period of time, but your VIN Retention Report will show by VIN the vehicles or customers you retained and the ones you lost. But that's not all. Shop Smart's technology can show you where your VINs ended up. Did they trade them in at another dealership? Did they switch models? Did they sell their vehicle privately or go to auction? You're constantly spending marketing dollars and time trying to target your current customers, but you could be marketing to customers that have moved on. And now you'll have the power to see where they went and change your strategy to target them in ways that brings them back. Not to mention, you can identify your strengths and weaknesses within the dealership to help lift up your staff and give them the confidence and drive they need to retain and gain your customers. The VIN Retention Report is yours at ShopSmartAutos, 4 dealers.com. It's the most powerful retention tool out there. All right, we are back with Mr. Larry Bruce. And Larry, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you coming from, and how you got to where you are now.
Oh, man.
Doesn't have to be the whole story.
Yeah. God, thank goodness, because being damn near 100, it's a long time. It's a long story. So, I mean, I guess you could sum it up by I started in the car business in late 83, so we'll call it 84. And worked my way through, and actually to where I owned a few dealerships with some very smart cats, Charlie Thomas and Red McCombs, and then one day decided I wanted to be a technologist, and so in '99 we started AIM Data, and we ran AIM Data for a long time. We did a lot of direct mail back in that day, and then we sold AIM Data to I guess you could call that the first CDP, because we did build a CDP and somehow managed to do 12 million pieces of mail a month out of a few thousand CDPs for dealers.
Wow.
We called them relational marketing databases at the time. Then we sold that company to Reynolds and Reynolds, and I proceeded to work for Reynolds and kind of get out every now and then and start another company and then sell it again. So I've done that, I guess, about 4 or 5 times now in automotive. And now went out into power sports for a little bit. That was a fun ride. So started that in 2016, and then we just recently exited that, and now back in automotive and building kind of what's old is new again. AIM Data again. So now it's BDC Box, but interesting AI technology and database or CDP and data stuff. So that's kind of where we're at today.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, and I'm sure that was the short version. I'm sure there were a lot of holes in there.
Oh, there's a lot of things we can't talk about in there.
So you're an advocate for the protection of data, correct?
Well, I mean, I think I don't know if I would call myself an advocate. I think you'd have to, in order to be an advocate or something, you'd have to say that people aren't trying to do that. And I would think that most everybody is trying to protect their data in some way or some form or another. I'm a big advocate of understanding and utilizing your data to not have to spend as much money on advertising. I'm very, very concerned and very shocked at the amount of advertising dollars that we're spending online today, or spending at all. And but particularly online, we seem to have shifted. We didn't really save any money in advertising in the retail automotive space. With this new digital marketing technology, we ended up shifting traditional media to digital media and spending more. So now that we're up to, the last number I saw from NADA was $703 a new car. That used to be $250 a new car in the 80s, $500 a new car in the 90s. And now in the 2000, we're 703. We're going backwards, man. So somebody needs to stop this and stop the insanity. And I think really, I think we got, I was talking to some friends of mine recently and in the business, and I think we ended up, deciding that digital marketing made us not have to take care of our customer base anymore, or to have to even keep up with it. The CRM would drive the sales team, and the sales team would use that, and then we would digitally market and know when they're in market online, and we put an ad in front of them, they'll just come by. No. And those ads are now very expensive. I mean, in some cases, 5 to 10, I've seen as much as $20 a click. Wow. In some areas. That's insane. Because we would buy lists for pennies and direct mail them. And but you'll buy a click for $20 and you don't know a damn thing about that click. Right. The only thing I do know for sure is that 30% of the clicks you get are not real. That much I have confidence in. The rest of it, I don't know. So somehow we've traded knowing who we're putting direct marketing in front of with not knowing and spending more. And this is a good idea, but I don't see how.
Yeah, Rich, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, me myself, I don't believe in spending that kind of money for you to sell cars. I never did. I believe in working your database. I believe in prospecting your customers. There's no salespeople today that prospect like a gold miner. I got a book out there, and that's how I sold cars. It's not something that I came up with. That's really how I did it. I would prospect. There's none of that going on. There's just everybody. Well, there's no traffic. They just complain about no traffic, and the owner goes out and either buys leads that 80% of them don't convert. Okay. So because they send it to everybody else and it just doesn't work. And then they go out on Google and spend money, and on Facebook and spend money. And it's getting to that cost where Larry said it's at, right before COVID, it was 600, it just keeps going up, 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 up. And they have a platinum in their dealership, which is their DMS. That's platinum. If they would do outreach to those customers and work with folks like Larry, they would have a tremendous ROI and ROA. Your return on your asset would be tremendous, because we all know this is a proven thing that when you concentrate on your previous customers, you get more value out of it. It's much easier to sell a previous customer than somebody that comes in from the street that doesn't know you. You got to give them a whole showroom thing, a whole thing. And a previous customers already knows the dealership, already has had good experience, because if not, they wouldn't be there. Now it's just about the salesman putting a deal together. And
it is 16. Basically pretty much anybody's research will tell you it's more money to get a new customer than it is to retain retain a current customer, our research shows 16x more money to research to get a new customer than to retain an old one. You know, the hard part today is that a lot of dealers, you hear it. I get frustrated with it. I don't want to hear it anymore. Where a dealer says that my salespeople are just lazy. Well, if you got lazy people, fire them. Okay, yeah, and go get people that want to work.
Right.
I don't think they're lazy though. I think you think they're lazy because things aren't happening. But the reality of it is that if you digitally capture every opportunity in your store to sell a vehicle, there's too much. An average 150 car store has to contact 60,000 people a month if you've been in business for any period of time.
Mhm.
And if you add to that all the sales plus the service plus the warranty after sale plus service reminder, if you add up everything you would expect your BDC or your salespeople to do outreach to, it'd be 130,000, over 100,000 people and 130,000 conversations a month. That would take, if the average person could take 60 contacts a day or 60 conversations a day, that's all they did. You'd need 94 people to get a hold of everybody. Yeah. I mean, it's just the sheer volume of what you're not doing or what you're missing is not, your salespeople aren't capable. That's one of the reasons we built BDC Box, is because you're not capable. People are not capable of having the number of conversations that are necessary for a dealership to follow up on everybody.
Right.
And so, you know, the salespeople do the best they can to follow up on the one that they think are hot, you know, but you know, they're giving up after one or two tries on just about every inbound lead they get. And, you know, that's not a referendum on them. They just have to get on to the next one. They literally can't continue to follow up. It's just that there's not enough time. There's not enough time in the day to sell and follow up well. And then you add to that, you know, the leads that come in various forms. Not every lead is created equal. So you add to that the various, you know, level of interest in varying leads. And it's very frustrating for a salesperson to know what's a hot lead and what's not.
Right. Right. So what is DIA and DIA plus AI? How does that benefit dealers?
Well, DIAA is a framework that I came up with literally back in the 90s for AIM data. And it stood for data, information, activation, action. At the time, everybody was screaming data, data, data. Look at all the data. Kind of like they are today, actually. And, you know, data is fine, but it's just a bunch of ones and zeros until somebody takes that data and turns it into information, so that customers and departments and things can be activated on it and someone takes action. It takes all four to make data valuable: data, information, activation, and action to make data valuable. And if you don't have all four, it's not valuable. It's just a glob of data sitting there doing nothing.
Right.
Which is, well, a lot of dealers have a glob of data sitting there doing nothing. You know, then, you know, so I've operated every application I've ever built for automotive on this framework, that the data is important, but the data plus information, activation, and action is the only thing to make it useful. Along comes AI, or generative AI now, and you really can't. I think a lot of dealers are finding out you can't run generative AI, or you can't run AI in your store really without that DIAA framework and a CDP, or a relational marketing database, whatever you want to call it. You can't do they have to come together. And you know that you got a lot of guys trying to do that without it, a CDP, and it's not working, and they're just disappointed.
Right.
And you know, if you're one of those providers out there who are vendors who are providing and are running a chat GPT in the background, and please stop. You're making my job hard.
Mhm.
you know, because your unfortunately, our dealer brethren, if one guy's application doesn't work with AI, they all don't work. And that's not true. The guys just didn't understand that, a pretty message doesn't get the job done. A contextual message and autonomy, that's what gets the job done. I don't need to faster write a pretty message, or even I don't need to write a pretty message at all. You're allowing a salesperson to do something pretty that they're not doing at all, and they're not doing it because they can't.
Right.
Unless you're going to automate with AI, get out of AI.
Mhm. Right. And Rich, and again, another big topic on the table, of course, is retention. So, and some of these numbers that were put in front of me yesterday, that in 2019, a retention rate for a dealership could be considered around 55% on domestic and 60% or higher on imports. I don't know how tight those numbers are, but that's pretty high numbers. But when we're running the SSA VIN retention reports, we're seeing numbers in the tens.
Yeah, I don't know who came up with those numbers. Those numbers are way off.
In 2019?
Yeah. I mean, those numbers have been off. I mean, you think about those numbers have been off for a long time. Average service retention has held for forever in around the high 40% percentile range for a dealer, right? For any dealer, doesn't matter who it is. We've been building databases for dealers for 25 years. I've not seen one yet whose service department wasn't 50% of them or more had never bought a car from them.
Right.
So if 50% of your service ROs have never bought a car from you, you're at a less than a 50% sales retention rate.
Right.
That's our service retention rate.
Right.
That's just straight math. And it doesn't matter whether you're domestic or import. But the real problem is that's measuring retention based upon the number of people that service with you that bought. And that's not retention. Real retention is how many times did you sell a customer the next car and the next car and the next car, right? Retaining them in service is almost to some degree a given, in that you're the only one that can service a Chevrolet F-150 or a Chevrolet Silverado or Ford F-150 now. They're not taking that to their local garage. When the service retention was first defined way back in the health 60s and 50s and 60s, right? Probably 70s is where it got really big. Anyone could work on a vehicle. You could take it to independent shops and they could work on it.
Right.
Today you can't.
Right.
So your service retention, and then if you are going to measure any level of service retention, you have to measure it from a standpoint of success. You have to measure it after the manufacturer's warranty ends. How many of those do you hold on to? You get to there, you're going to see your drops to the 20s and low teens, the high or mid teens to 20%.
Right.
The dealers holding on to those records or those customers, excuse me. So, the thing that drives me nuts about this industry is we love feel good metrics. We like to walk into our 20 groups. Look what I'm doing, man. Look, I appreciate that. If that makes you feel good, that's great. What makes me feel good is a big bank account. So I don't really care about my 20 group. I care about my bank account.
Yeah.
So, so at the end of the day, if you're these feel good metrics are trying to twist the numbers into making it sound better than it is silly. Just face the facts. Because the reality is that it's easy to fix. They just want you to they want some communication after the sale.
Yeah.
That's all. It's not hard. We used to do it a lot. We just don't do it as much anymore. Now we want to target you when you're in market and bombard you with ads online. And somehow that's going to fix the problem. Well, you're not the only one doing it, man. And it's not even the car business isn't the only one doing it. That guy gets online and you start bombarding him with ads because when he's in the market online, because you're tracking his cookies and watching his TCP IP over broadband and all this nonsense you're pulling. By that time, you're too late. He's already decided where he's going, and he's not paying attention to your ad or any of the other 63 ads he got in that session. They're not that you're not accomplishing what you think you're accomplishing. Unfortunately, Google's going to be mad at me for saying this, but they fed us a line, and we bit.
Right.
And now we moved our entire, $8 billion ad budget to them, or a big chunk of it.
Right.
And it's not any more effective there than it was on television.
And here's what the thing is, the advertising companies that are doing that are going after the dealer and hitting them with more and more budgets and more ads. Well, they say, well, I had a bad month. My conversion was nothing. Okay, that means because you got to add more, and they're going for it. They're obviously are going for it. And all they have to do is focus with a company like yourself, right? Well,
it's not all they have to do, but yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, let's get back to the basics, right? The basics at the end of the day for us as the dealers was control your customer base, have your customer base. I can guarantee you can walk into any dealership today and if the sales and walk up to the sales manager as a salesperson and say, hey, boss, traffic's low. I mean, it's slow, man. I just don't know how I'm going to sell cars. And you know what that guy's going to tell you? Go work your customers.
Make more calls.
Yeah. Go, he's going to tell you to go to work. Right. Yeah. But when I ask a dealer to do the same thing, they don't even have a customer base or a list to go do it with. So the very thing you would tell your salespeople to do, you can't do. Why? What are you waiting on? What are you trying to accomplish here? You can't do what you're asking your salesperson to do. So it's kind of weird that we dropped off. We lost this because for a long time, from 1999 to 2000, and I know 8 before I sold the company to Reynolds and Reynolds, that's what we were focused on. Let's get our customer base in line. Let's keep constant contact with our existing customers, turn them into repeat buyers, get referrals, do, all the things that, I love. At that time I would do business. I spoke in a lot of Jim Ziegler's sales management forum meetings in Atlanta. I'd go there just about every month. And I love that line that Jimmy has is, we used to do that. Well, did it used to work? Yeah. And why'd you stop? Right. And so many times that you'd hear that from a sales manager in one of those forums meetings. Well, we used to do that. Well, he'd always say, well, did it used to work? Right. Well, yeah. Then why did you stop? It's silly. Somehow we decided to stop and we decided to stop and spend more money. That's the really wild part. We decided not only are we going to stop doing this thing we know works, we're going to do that. And then we're going to throw more money at it.
Right. Right.
So I don't know who decided that somewhere, but somebody made that decision and we all jumped on board. That's what's weird. That is unusual for the car business. We're usually much more skeptical than that. So I don't know.
How about this retention thing, like we have the data, right? But Experian has the data too. You can go out there to Experian and ask them for one simple report, vehicles in operation. And when you see where the vehicles of operations are, the last quarter was ridiculous. Where they are per franchise, it's terrible. And as the OEMs are saying, like Ford, take Ford for an example, you're from Houston, so you know what the deal is there. If you're a Ford guy, F-150, you're always going to buy an F-150. That's just the way it works, right? And they got a great retention as the OEM sector, but as the dealerships, they're all shotgun all over the place. That's because of the online ads, because everybody's always reaching out to customers and grabbing them, and giving them some offer or something. So it's like the vehicle, I would be concerned as a dealer. about my sales retention, yes, but I will be more concerned about vehicles in operation because that is my bank account.
Yeah,
You know,
well, I mean,
those
if you have
customers come back to
if you
service.
have yeah, if you have a database to talk to those customers and talk to them rather than at them, that is your bank account. You know, if
Yeah.
you don't have that and you're relying on your DMS to be it or your CRM to be that database, then you know it's not working. And the reason it's not working is there's more pieces to it than just throwing a bunch of customers in a CRM, or going and getting or even your data sitting in your DMS. It's your customer data sitting in your DMS is useless to AI. It's useless to any kind of market. It's great for counting the money, and we damn sure need to count the money. But to make you more money, it's not going to help you much. So it's got to get out, right? And then your CRM, that data is got to layer in with it, because some of those people bought and some of them didn't. But then all that data has to get cleaned up. The hygiene on a database, it happens every day for us. But it's CAS certification, it's NCOA, it's email validation, it's mobile validation, it's mobile append and email append. It's doing, we call it VIN title transfer, checking does the customer still own that vehicle. This happens every single day on every single record, all the time, never stops. And I think this is one of the places where dealers fell short, because they didn't want to keep this process up. It's not, I mean, it's something that has to be, it's like shaving. You got to do it like a little bit every day. Otherwise you're going to grow a beard. Right. So, and that may be okay for you, but hairy data is not good. Hairy face, probably okay for some people. Hairy data, not as much.
Yeah.
So you don't want hairy data. But that hygiene process has to constantly be going on. And then the data's got to get organized. You can't just have a glob of data that's clean. You got to have it organized. You got to know something about it. It's got to be segmented. Leases coming due, purchases coming due, purchase term completed, existing service customers who didn't buy from the store, service reminders, people who bought warranties but didn't buy a warranty at the time. All these segments have to be created, and then to talk to customers. Right. And I think we didn't want to put the time in to figure it out, or we didn't figure it out, or didn't even know, but we know now. I mean, these are things that are being done daily. We do a lot of them. It can be done, and it can be automated now. It's no longer an email blast where if you're e-blasting, or most of the time, if you're sending anything out of your CRM, it's not making it to where you want it to go. That's another reason why we decided to, as a dealer body, I'm sure we decided to stop, as we had to keep up with, how do I keep my email addresses whitelisted? How do I keep from getting blocked and spammed and thrown into the promotional tab? And how do I do all that stuff? I mean, that's a lot to keep up with, on top of a marketing department, on top of a sales department, on top of a service department, on top of a used car department, on top of a accounting department, on top of, Jesus Christ, of a body shop. You ever tried to manage a body shop, dude? It's crazy. That I don't know how you go from zero money to 200 grand in gross in a day, but it happens. So all of these departments that a dealership has to manage, it's hard, because in the old days, before all this digital nonsense, we went to our ad agency and we wrote a check and said, make people show up on my showroom. And it was literally that easy. Yeah. Right. Today, it's like, well, are we getting our click-through rates right? What's our conversion rate? Are we TCP/IPing over broadband? Or what about the social media? Did we do any content marketing on our blog? Oh my God. Yeah. I'm sure as a dealer, you just want to stick a gun in your mouth. I don't blame you. I mean, it would drive me nuts.
Yeah.
Especially the old dealers, the ones that were around,
Yeah.
when it was that simple,
right.
It was pretty simple.
Right. But then you have all these guys that sprung up, right? And this guy did a little bit of this, and he had a really cool report that showed this, and this guy did this part of it, and we took what was radio, TV, newspaper, 3 silos, and we created 30 silos and a whole another department we had to build. And then we weren't done, or we weren't, we weren't, hurting enough. We needed more pain. So we added the BDC to it too. So we created a marketing department and a BDC department. And if that wasn't enough, now we want to add more. So we're going to add the vehicle acquisition department too. So now I've got 3 additional departments I need to staff, manage, and maintain, because I'm a sadist. I just don't have enough.
Love that pain.
It's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, if I am running a dealer today, it's like we used to just have the sales department, the service department, the parts, and the body shop, but now we've got all of this. So it's literally 9 different departments for a dealer today, and it's hard. But it doesn't have to be that hard. The hard parts are when you get all these guys who come into the industry, and there's a lot of non-automotive people who showed up in our industry from 2000 on, who basically, I'm sure they all have decent and good products, but I don't need a one product specialization. What I need is, realistically, what the dealers need to understand is that there is only one strategy today that you should be looking at. And that is your top line, whatever your top line marketing is. And that top line marketing, I mean by, basically spray and pray marketing, because it's all spray and pray. TV, radio, newspaper, online, digital, PPC, all these things that drive leads. It is cost per lead. I don't care about your clicks, don't care about your impressions, don't care about how much money did I spend with you? How many leads did I get?
Right.
Okay. And then what's the engagement of those leads? How many did we actually have a conversation with?
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's the only thing that matters. The clicks and the views and the this and the that and it doesn't matter, because I don't know about you, but I tried to pay a bill one time with clicks. It didn't work out. I gave it a shot. I tried to sell a car. It didn't work. I gave it a fair shot, but it didn't work. I mean, the fact of the matter is, if I don't have a name, an email address, or a mobile number, I can't converse with you to sell a car. And if I can't converse with you, I can't sell you a car, period. That's it. Right. Mm-hmm. So I get that. Now, once I get it down here, it's got value, right? It's a name and it's an email address. And as long as that email address is deliverable, it has value. Some more than others, but eventually you can once you get it down here into your follow-up bin, you can follow that up as long as you need to, very inexpensively, to turn that into a sale. But that CDP of customers has to constantly be churned to get the sales out of it. Constantly have conversations with them, right? And that's what salespeople don't like. I didn't come here to get on the phone and talk. I didn't come here to send emails. I didn't come here to send text messages. I came here to meet people on the floor and shake their hand and sell them a car. Yeah. I mean, even today, the guys who are in it today know that they all want that, because the person in front of them is the only person that they can make money on, and they got to make money today.
Yeah.
So they're not farmers. They are definitely hunters. They're not going to, most of them will not do this kind of thing. So you need something that can do it. And the reality is that you need something that can do it at scale, because you've got a lot of conversations you need to have.
Right.
And that's I think the problem with the car business today. We stopped trying to have these conversations. We thought that we just throw all these banner ads online and do PPC ads and we would get the customers, and to a degree you do, but what do you have to spend to do it?
Right.
And that's the problem. it's too much.
Yeah.
It's more than hell. It's probably more than TV now. And hell, TV's so damn fragmented. When we used to do it, there were 3 stations, not 300.
Right.
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 When we used to do it, there were 3 advertising mediums, not 30.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it just got real interesting. But the only thing that hasn't changed is that no matter what you do in all this, there will be a conversation had with somebody before you have a car, before you sell a car. That
Right.
has not changed in 100 years and won't
Right.
change 100 years from now. You will have a conversation with somebody before they buy a car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Carvana figured that out. They started having conversations.
Yeah.
Right. And they started selling more cars. Now, the other troubles may cost them. They may end up in the Bill Hurd situation here not too long from now, but we'll see how that works out. It didn't work out well for Bill, and I
No.
don't think it's going to work out well for them either.
Well, anything
Larry,
else?
let me ask you a question, right?
Yeah.
If I have a store, right, that my
Mhm.
retention's really low,
Mhm.
I look at the VIN report that ShopSmart gives us. My
Mhm.
retention's really low. I send that out to you. I says, Larry, I want to hire you to help my retention, right?
Mhm.
What is it you could do, right, to help that dealership retain more of his customers? And what kind of budget does that dealership need for you to go to work here?
Well, first of all, no matter what you do, whether it's with BDC Box or whoever, it doesn't matter. Get a CDP. Now, there are some CDPs that are better than others, but get a CDP. I'm going to tell you a CDP is going to be your DMS, your CRM,
Mhm.
your floor level traffic, all your behavioral and contextual level kind of traffic, your all your website traffic, all your de-anonymize as much of that website traffic as possible. All of that's going to come into your CDP to what we would call a DIAA level CDP. But even if you just got one that had CRM and DMS data and that was it, it's better than nothing.
Correct.
So get something. But if you get, but something's better than nothing. So start there. But after that, what we would do with that CDP is basically what you would expect your salespeople to do. Only we would do it with AI for 2 reasons. One, it's consistent, it's inexpensive, it's going to converse with the customer at a level that needs that they're at that time, and it's going to do it the same way every time. 2, it's going to get everyone. It's not going to just decide today I want to only talk to 5 people or 50 people because of my mood. It doesn't get sick. It doesn't, conversations drive marketing. Marketing is a conversation. There's an old adage from 1999, or it's not, I don't know if you call it an adage. It's a manifesto. It's called the Clue Train Manifesto. Look it up. It was written in 1999, but it starts out marketing is a conversation. Right. And they predicted in 99 that AI would have these conversations at scale that would help drive marketing costs down and higher customer experience, because nobody wants to be advertised to, nobody wants to be campaigned, but everybody, when they'd like to buy a car, would like to have a conversation.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we would have those, our AI has those conversations, not campaigns. We don't reach out and say, and yell at you with offers. We reach out and ask customers questions and start conversations that way and answer questions. And so we didn't look at AI as this campaign tool. We looked at AI as a way to have conversations with customers. Ask them, are you in the market? What do you want to buy? Do we have it? How much is it going to cost? For anyone watching this program, realize that the idiot that stuck Chat GPT on a chat window and allowed it to sell a car, allowed it to make the negotiations. If they never allowed it to talk price with the customer or talk about or negotiate with the customer, it would have never done that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that was bad programming and bad use of AI, not what AI will do every time, no matter what it is. You cannot convince our AI to sell you a car for anything less than what you have it on your website for. It's not going to do that. But we would have these conversations, but it wouldn't just be, it would be around, resell, lead nurturing, post-sale, no sale, and service. And the budgets are, you got to get your budget's good. Your biggest upfront expense is going to be in the build of the CDP. But it has to be, if you are, like I said, when you get a CDP, even if it's CRM and DMS data only, it has to be hygiened every day. If you're talking to somebody who's building a CDP, they're not going to hygiene it every day and show you that it's being hygiened. Don't just tell you,
Right.
Show you it's being hygiened. Don't buy it. Right. And then in that hygiene, you really gotta press for making sure they still own and maintain the vehicle.
Right.
Right. Check that against DMV, make sure they still own. And then finally, when you do get the CDP, if its only function is to provide email addresses to the demand side platforms so that you can target these guys with online ads, that's probably the lowest and worst use of a CDP you could ever think of. At least you have your existing customer base. I've seen dealerships get anywhere from $5 million extra for their store because they have a good, solid, engaged database.
Right.
When I buy your business, I'm buying your customers. I'm not buying your brick mortar. The brick mortar, the land, they all mean something, but the inventory doesn't mean a damn thing to me because I want it gone, sold. And the only way I'm going to sell it is with your existing customers.
Right.
So, that's what I'm really buying. So, I'd say that, the budget, you need to budget for your CDP so that it's cleaned up front and kept clean daily. And then finally, for us, I don't like this process without success. I like success-based pricing. We are at the point back when we had AIM data, you'd get dealers all the time who would tell me, well, you send out this direct mail campaign and, you do the matchbacks and I'll pay you for every car. And I would tell them, no, you won't, because you'll owe me more money than you'll want to spend. This thing will end up costing you $10, $5 a direct mail piece, just some ridiculous number that you're not going to pay. Oh, no, we will. And then the matchback would come back and they would go, no, I'm not paying you that.
Yeah, right.
And so we stopped doing it. We just did the direct mail thing. But today, you can definitively show, I sent an email, it delivered, they opened, they responded, we responded, they came in and bought. Right. That's $150 to us. We get paid just like your salespeople do, on commission.
Right.
I help you sell a car. You pay me $150. And then that's the only fair way to do it. So if you're buying any advertising, there's got to be some success-based performance tied to this. I think that's another place we missed it. We just started paying everybody $2,000 a month, no matter what kind of performance they provided, and nobody was held accountable for any type of success. But if you hire a sales guy, the only way you're going to pay him is on commission.
Right.
So why would you hire a marketing person that on anything less than commission? Doesn't make sense.
Right.
And especially today when you can track everything. So that's how we get paid. I strongly recommend to anyone out there who's looking at doing anything AI related, do it on success base. If they're really that confident in their AI, they'll do it. If they're not, they won't. And that's okay too. But I mean, move on, because you would never pay a salesperson, a $5,000 a month salary if they didn't sell a car.
Right.
You might give them 90 days of that, and then you got to go.
Right.
But some of these guys are on some of these platforms for years, and then they can't tell you when it sold. But it got me a lot of clicks. So that's how we would do it. We would come in when we're done, and we would run our AI program, track the conversations. If the customer came in and bought, you pay us $150, and we're happy and want to work that way. It's more expensive to the dealer, but is it?
Right.
I mean, we're typically we're talking to customers you're not talking to. Typically, we're taking on customers your salespeople have given up on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just, I hate to say it, but I'm working on your inefficiency.
Right.
And making good money doing it too. But then again, you are as well. So when we're all aligned,
selling cars, man,
when we're all aligned, you can't be anything but happy.
Yeah.
The product works, if you do an outreach to your customer consistently all the time, it's just going to get better and better and better. You're going to see that flow go up and up and up. It's never going to go on the other one, especially when you're doing that and your competitor is not. You got that edge on them.
Yeah, we all know that growth is in the fringes. Everybody can get the laydown. Right. The growth is in the follow up, and the guys who sell more follow up more. They just do. But it's not hard today to follow up. It's not hard anymore to automate that follow up, and I don't mean template based. When generative AI came around, it revolutionized communications or conversations, right? Now, all these silly people who are trying to convince you that you can just plug your data up to AI and AI is going to tell you what to do with your data. That's stupid. Yeah. Okay. Right. You don't plug data in. You don't plug data into AI and AI fix your data. You plug good data into AI and AI acts on good data. It's just flipped. Right. And so the idea that somehow magically you're going to use AI to give you some insights into the data in your customer base that's going to have you make better decisions with inventory, have you that AI is not going to do that. It's not that smart. It's really not. Right. But there's a lot of guys right now trying to convince dealers that AI is something above marketing, that if they kind of look down on marketing with AI. But then again, as a dealership, that's all you are. You're a marketing and sales entity. That's all you do. You sell cars, you sell parts, you sell service. You don't make anything.
Right.
Right. You sell. So don't take your eye off that ball. This is the greatest sales tool probably since direct mail. I don't know. I mean, it's this ability to take and craft a message based on, you guys know what format is, right? Or are you too young? You guys look younger than me.
I'm not.
No. Yeah.
Well, format's an old thing we used to use in the car business called family, occupation, recreation, motivation, animals, and teams. Format. The 6 things you can talk to a customer about to gain rapport. And so you train a sales staff to talk about one of these things. And then that gets you that rapport. Well, that also, amazingly enough, allows us to go out to Facebook and scrape any part of this information about a customer, so that when we open up an email or we open up a conversation with a customer, we can use, hey, how about those Texans yesterday? Close game.
Right.
We can open up that conversation that way if the guy's a Texans fan. Or if they pets, and pets are in the world to get to know somebody. No, make no mistake. How's Fido? Hope he's loving sticking his head out the window in that new car.
Mm-hmm.
These things can be done now, where they didn't used to be able to be done. So
Right.
instead of sending out blasting one email message to 10,000 people, you have 10,000 email messages to 10,000 people. Mass
Right.
customization.
Right. It's tremendous.
Yeah,
That's a
and
game
so
changer right there.
no doubt, and you do it all without having to get. When I mean, I don't know if you guys ever did. When AIM Data had a huge production department. And our production department, their only job was to chase down dealers to get approvals for things that were in the direct mail piece that was going out, and chase down the print house to make sure the print house had it right. I mean, we had this huge just process. I don't even have that anymore. No production people at all.
Wow.
The AI just creates the message, and nobody has to check anybody with anybody to generate the message, because we're not making an offer as much as we are asking a question.
Right.
Are you ready to buy a vehicle? And it's funny because if you wait till this guy gets online and has decided to go start shopping, you're too late. By that time, AI has already started talking to that customer well before they even got online. As a matter of fact, our AI might have just started the conversation to make them go online.
Yeah.
You're too late. You don't want to be the guy, not anymore. You don't want to be the third guy anymore. You got to be the first guy. Back in the day, you wanted to be the third dealership they visited,
Right.
because that was the last one they were going to buy at. Today, you want to be they're buying at 1.2 dealerships, right? And you just don't want to be the 0.2,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So now I've got to if you're in my store, I got to close you. But I've got to get you to my store first, because they're eliminating online. There's no doubt that customers go online, customers call you, customers talk, they converse with you, not to include you, but to exclude you from the list of dealerships they're expecting to buy from. So
Right.
every time you hand it over to a salesperson, you're putting the exclusion in their hands. I'd rather have it in the hands of AI, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
It's a lot less likely to say something to get me excluded.
Yeah.
by a long shot. It's scary how that is, but it's not. But it is true, because it doesn't take much, right?
No.
So that I think that's where I would recommend a dealer start there. And until you own your customer, your area, and you have all the customers in a CDP in your area, and you've got a great conversations going with all of them, you don't need to go outside to the rest of this nonsense.
Right.
There's until you've saturated your existing customer base, or your PMA or primary marketing area. Until you've done that, why are you on all these other places spending money? I mean, it takes $5 for every dollar to get back $5 in gross profit to get back every dollar in net profit. And every dollar in net profit is coming right out of your ad budget. So every dollar you can take out of your ad budget goes straight to your bottom line, right? So it's like $5 of gross profit. That's what Charlie used to say, right? He hated advertising. Hated it because it cost money right off the bottom line. It didn't come out of anything else but his pocket.
Right.
And that's pretty much every dealer.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that money comes out of your pocket. So if your current marketing program isn't getting you a 500% return on investment, you're losing money.
Right.
Right. And even then, if they're getting you 500, you're barely breaking even.
Right.
Right. So at the end of the day, when I get right down to it, if I'm going to pay somebody $150 a car to help me get people in the door, that's worth doing. We do that all day long. But our BDCs have gotten to the point where you got to pay somebody $6,000 a month plus $50 an appointment, plus another $150 to $200 when they sell one. Holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where that math won't work. Certainly not at $200 over invoice.
Right.
That's insanity. So you got it. A course correction there has to happen, and I think it happens with conversations with your store. But that's at least what we're betting on.
Right.
So the answer, I don't know if that was a long way of answering your question, Richie. I apologize, but at the end of the day, I'd say every dealer has to have a CDP. This year, go get one. After you get a CDP, figure out what you're going to do with that data. Understand that the least useful is targeting ads online. That's the least useful. But there's a lot more to that you can do with it. Once you get that CDP and you own the conversations in your market, then start looking outside to add more to your CDP. But understand, everything I do up here is really just to add more to my CDP and more to my conversations that are happening down here. It's not that. So its value is how much it can add to the bottom of this funnel, if you will. How much can it add, right? And then that's only caveat is that when I get a lead from you, is well over 70% of these, are they engaging? Because if you send me a bunch of leads, but nobody's replying to my emails, nobody's replying to answering the phone, this is actually worse. You got me working on busy work. And that's what's driving some salespeople nuts. These guys are supplying such poor quality leads that they're ending up chasing things that aren't even real.
Right.
I'm certainly not going to buy anytime soon. And it frustrates salespeople, and they decide not to follow up on leads. Do you remember? You guys remember Delix?
No,
probably not. This was the audio. I'm sure you remember Delix.
Yeah, Delix. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a third party lead provider back in the day. Sold to I think it was CDK for a lot of money. So they sold to somebody for a lot of money.
Yeah, they did. It was CDK. It was ADP and then CDK.
Yeah, CDK, and then that was they came after AutoBytel.
Right.
Who I don't think they're even in business anymore. I don't know.
No, they're not. They're not.
Yeah, but these third party lead companies, I can't say for sure, but there was a whole exchange for third party leads. Like I'd sell it to 4 or 5 dealers, and then for 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever I could get, right? And then once I was done churning that out, then you take them to the wholesale market and you sell them to a bunch of other third party lead guys who would then go resell them. So they're all it's
the whole exchange, right?
Yeah, this whole lead exchange.
Right.
And this whole seedy little world of leads being sold 30, 40, 50 times. And that's what kind of drove the whole first party leads and first party data market, or revolution, if you will, because this was happening. I'm not too sure it's still not happening.
Oof.
Well, it is happening. There's big exchanges out there.
Yeah.
Back when Dealex was around, they were responsible for 500,000 leads a month.
Yeah.
Okay?
They're
it
big.
Was huge. So big that it wasn't even funny. The problem is the whole thing apart, the third lead generation, why it's not working, right? Because they didn't go to you, right? You're just generating a lead from cars grew up. So the next time they're in the market, right, they're going to go to them. And of course, why are they going to go to them? Well, let's talk about it. Real simple, because the dealership never communicates with that customer through your system, right? So when they're in the market again, guess who communicates with them? Cars.com, Cars Guru, Auto Trader. They're sending out emails in the millions every day, and they're communicating with their customers. You're not. So now but
they're not really their customers.
Right.
Because without your inventory, they'd have never done anything.
Right. So now the dealership gave that control to these third-party lead generation companies, right? And that's why their retention is like that. That's why everything is like that, because the next time they're in the market, that's where they're going to go. You've been around the car business a long time. You remember that loyalty program that if you leased a car or you bought a car, you had the registration. You showed the registration, they would waive you the security deposit and all this shit. All that shit went away. There's no loyalty program. right? Like there was, right? And all that stuff went away. So this thing is getting, and you can tell that they're doing the wrong things by delivering a car. You mean to tell me it's going to cost me $705? There goes my holdback. There goes my co-op. Watch. There goes my holdback. There goes my co-op. And if I get floor plan assistant like with Chevrolet, that goes too. So it's going to cost me $705. It's not really costing you $705. It's costing you a lot more. As far as the OEMs are looking at it, we're spending $500 or $600 a car. The dealership is spending $700 a car. It's costing you $1,300, $1,400 to deliver a car.
The manufacturer has a lot more profit in that to soften.
Right, but there's something wrong with this picture. Then to deliver that car, then you gotta spend money with your BDC, with giving them money for appointments, giving them money for this, that, and then it just goes add. Before you know it, you have to do so much volume to hopefully get that money in service and in parts. Okay, that it's a break even in the showroom, or maybe you lose a little bit. So wait, you mean to tell me that with your platform, right, Larry, I have your platform. That means that if I continuously do that, I'm going to be independent. I'm not going to need these third-party lead generations. Not only
we didn't need them to start with. We never needed them.
Exactly.
We turned over control to the customer online to Auto Trader when we decided that the internet was a non-event for the car business, right? We turned that off. And then by the time we figured out it was real, it was too late. The Auto Trader thing had left the station. And then to make matters worse, Auto Trader started, building their SEO and their advertising all around your store in your name. So they're now ranking for your store against you in your market. They're competing with you with your advertising dollars, or with your inventory rather, excuse me. And by the way, they ain't helping you with your floor plan, right? They're in a sense utilizing your product if it's an Amazon model. When you think about it, Amazon charges the seller right, to sell the product when they sell it through their platform because they got the customers. Well, Auto Trader went and got the customers, and now they're charging you to be on their platform, your inventory on their platform, so that you can get a lead, hopefully. But the leads that come through there are the lowest quality leads most dealers get. And so I'm still very, very confused as to why you're there. Why do you have your inventory there? When it's the Orbitz model, right? No one ever buys a ticket through Orbitz hardly, but they do go there to find out the price,
right?
and then they go directly to United or the Delta or whoever to buy the ticket,
right?
That's what's happening with Auto Trader, Cars.com, Car Gurus, all of these guys. At the end of the day, they are simply a place where your inventory is being shopped against other inventory. And so I have an idea of what the price is going to be when I go to buy one. And I'm coming to my local store because I'm not going, for the most part, cross country to do it. Right. Used to be when I did business with Texas Direct Auto, they would come there. There'd be a lot of people that come fly into Texas and pick up a vehicle and drive back. But that was because they were pricing the market. No one else was. Now everybody's pricing to the market. Right. So that advantage has gone away. Hence the reason why Texas Direct Auto is not in business anymore. Neither is Zoom. So at the end of the day, I don't think third party. I think the third party lead providers, like the leads that you're getting from there, there's a percentage that are not coming from the platform. They're actually buying on the exchange. And then they're supplying them to you because they need to show you you're getting leads.
Right.
Right. They need to prove their value. So, I don't, to what degree, who knows? But the fact of the matter is that if you're getting leads from AutoTrader, you're getting leads from Cars.com, you're getting leads from Car Gurus or anywhere else. If they're not engaging, if those leads aren't engaging, if they're, over 70%,
Right.
then stop. You're losing money. You're wasting time and losing money. Just stop. More leads isn't the answer. More engaged leads is the answer.
Right. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And,
Well, I think that any dealership that's out there has got to call Larry immediately. That's what I think.
Well, thank you. we believe you. We're with you. We're with you, man.
you agree?
We're on your team.
I've seen the product of Larry. I've had some tremendous amount of engagement with him. He is really, really good at what he does. Versus, there's a lot of guys now. There's 4 or 5 of them doing what Larry does. Larry's got the experience, the knowledge of the car business. He's not just a tech of the car business. In combination with that tech side is lethal. Versus a guy that's never been in the car business, that's just a tech. Well, that's great. I know of Larry for a long time. I just actually met him, but I know of Larry a long time because he worked with Charlie Thomas. And in my younger years, I worked there. I was sent there through the Nicholson Group at Charlie Thomas Chevrolet. And the one thing that I learned from Charlie Thomas that he says, Richie, if somebody doesn't listen to you, there's 3 reasons. Either they're deaf, stupid, or they just don't respect you. And that's the one thing that stuck in my brain about him. He showed me a lot of stuff with financial statements. He was really, really good at what he did. He was amazing. And he comes from that side of it and really, really successful as it could be. He's good at what he does. Larry is really, really good. And just the conversations we had a weekend where we talked back and forth a few times. I had visitors and all that, and I kept talking to him as my visitors were here because the conversation was so good about it. You know what I mean? That me looking at the reports, me looking at where the problems to the dealers are, Larry's a perfect integration platform, perfect. Okay, start getting me more. Get Larry to bring your cost of advertising down, your cost per acquisition down. And not only is he going to bring the cost of acquisition, we all know that when you bring in a repeat customer, your profits are going to be better and you're going to have an easier sale. And man, the BDC thing, that's really getting expensive to dealers, Even some virtual BDCs are getting expensive too. Now it's let me train you, Mr. Dealer, for you to do it on your own because the virtual BDC is getting expensive. You got to understand everything's going up and up and up.
More an outsourced BDC, you mean?
Yeah, the outsourced BDCs are getting expensive. So even the BDCs should reach out to Larry because that's perfect. Listen, it's really, really the cost of everything is getting higher. You go to the grocery store, it's higher than it was. Your car payment is higher than it was. Your marketing dollars are way higher than it was. We're mismanaging that. The only thing we could do with the cost of everything going high is when we see a platform like Larry's, jump on it because that platform is going to save you money until the next thing comes because on Earth, there's something called an evolution, and that evolution is always going. We don't realize it, but it's round. It starts circulating every 24 hours. And when it starts doing this, that evolution is picking up evolution and evolution. And that's the spin because we are in a planet that spins. So why wouldn't we spin, right? Yeah. But in that spin, that evolution is coming in. And guys like Larry, a few, maybe none, because I've never met a Larry that's that good at it. So in that spin,
There's probably some people that are that are
in
happy
his
about that.
evolution, giving you the solution for you to lower. If anything, the first thing I look at as a dealer, I'm gonna lower the cost of my acquisition. If I lower the cost of my acquisition by $100, by 100, old Charlie Thomas used to say, by 100, Richie, that's 100 that goes right to my net profit, right to my bottom line, 100. And you take 100 times 400 cars.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I mean, I think that,
profit.
again, the
It's 100.
the old things are that are proven is that you're keeping up with your existing customer base is a staple of the car business since the 50s.
Right.
You just need to do it as a dealer. You just need to do it at your level, not at the salesperson level anymore. I mean, it's great for your salespeople to do it, but at the end of the day, the salespeople aren't on the hook for the rent. The salespeople aren't on the hook for the expenses. You are.
Right.
So you need to do it. You need to take that on. And I will. It is harder to get outsourced BDCs and even outsourcing BDCs and overseas labor is getting difficult to hire. But the problem is there's still people, and the BDC. I don't know if you guys know this, but John Traver, the godfather of the BDC, he's in my town. I know John. But that the way the BDC is today is not what he built.
No.
It's not what John the BDC really realistically back in John's day he did phone training, and you went into a cubicle and worked as a salesperson and worked your customers. There was no dedicated people in there. It was a place for the salespeople to get off the floor and do the things that they wouldn't do or couldn't do realistically at that time on the floor.
Right.
And that was the way the BDC got started. And somehow it then morphed into this manned or dedicated man thing that salespeople that people would sell appointments for, which is great. But the reality is we piled on another expense. So now that if you have a BDC and you're not including that in the cost of your advertising, your numbers are off.
Right.
Because that's a big part of the cost of your advertising. So that's where your money's going. So it's funny how the digital age it didn't do what we expected it to do. We expected it to lower our cost of acquisition, lower our cost of advertising, increase our customer experience, and make it easier for us to get our product to customers. In fact, what it did was it fragmented the entire market, had a whole bunch of tech come in that didn't mean anything, had a whole bunch of people basically, bring things to, or bring not important things to the table, confuse the dealers even more to where they had to go back and try to figure all this stuff out. And now we're sitting here, we have to face the facts. We're sitting here at $703 a car.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I've got, however, anywhere, if you're a good dealer, hopefully you got 70% of your leads are engaging. If they're not, then you need to look at your providers and look at your leads. It's not their BDC's fault. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Right. We end up here, and we end up here without a solution. I think that's the real hard part.
Right.
Is that we're all looking at trying, what do we do? Well, take the hard leap, go get your customers, spend the money, and get your customers in a solid CDP that you control. Right.
Right.
And that's the other thing I would add to that. There's some basics things that the CDP has to, the basic requirements, minimum requirements, right? Or table stakes, CRM data, DMS data, table stakes. If it doesn't do that, it's not a CDP. You don't want it. Mm-hmm. Hygiene doesn't do that. I don't want it. Move on. My own API key that I control what vendors can access that data. You don't have it. I don't want it. I'm not going to, I mean, there are laws coming where if you're not in control of that data, you're in trouble. If you're not, and you only want to hand out the data that the provider needs to help you. And so let me add the fifth, another thing. If that provider's not giving you a data sharing agreement that states clearly that they will only use your data for your purposes of your store and nobody else, and you don't need to sign it, they do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If they're not handing that to you, you don't want it because you don't know what the hell they're doing with your data.
Mm.
Right.
So, those are the minimum things: CRM data, DMS data, minimum; hygiene, minimum; API control, minimum; data sharing agreement, minimum. Those are the 5 things that you table stakes that you got to have to do my CDP if I'm the dealer.
Right.
If you don't have these 5 things, get out of my store. If your CDP today doesn't have these 5 things, get your data back from that provider. Number 1, have them sign an agreement before you pay another invoice that states that they will not keep your data. You're canceling,
Right.
and they are not going to keep your data. And I'm not paying another invoice till I get it. And then go find one who meets these 5 criteria.
Right. Right.
That's just, it's nuts to turn your data over that, because what's going to happen? Somebody's going to get sued.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what it takes in the car business. Somebody to get sued before we'll pay attention. And I'm talking about a big one.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about, we've had some good sized lawsuits, but it hadn't come down the way it's going to at some point.
Right. All right. Well, Mr. Larry Bruce, bdcbox.com. Check him out. And want to thank you very much for being on the show today.
Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Larry.
Yep. And just as a side note, again, Richie's 4th book, Let Data Take the Wheel, is on Amazon. It's a little blurred out there. And every penny over cost is going to our veterans to help prevent suicide. So it's a great cause, and recommend you take a look. Filled with lots of data, as was our guest today. Thanks for sharing again with us today, Larry. And other than that, thanks to everyone out there for listening and watching, and we will see you again next week.
Thanks all.
Thank you, guys.
All right, have a good one.